Welcome back, everybody, to Niners Now. I'm your host, Brady Grustas, at Brady on X. You can follow me there. And today, the 49ers have a joint practice showdown against the Chargers. We are going to break down everything that you need to watch for at joint practice today. And then, of course, stick around until later in the show because Deebo Samuel could be adding a new dimension to this offense, but that might not always be a good thing. What do I mean? Well, we'll talk about it later. But of course, before we begin, go ahead and subscribe down below. Check out Niners Now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a review, leave a like, leave a comment. Huge shout out to Call Sheet for sponsoring this video. Let's get right into it. Starting, of course, with the Chargers joint practice happening today. If you are watching this video after joint practice, let me know in the comments how it went. But if you're watching before joint practice happens, leave a comment down below with what you expect to happen. We all know what we'll be watching for at least the main storylines, right? Left guard competition, like we've been watching all offseason. Dejon Stribling, Jack Jones, all the regular training camp standouts. We'll be watching to see if they have big days against the LA Chargers. But I wanted to show some love today to some of the other storylines that haven't gotten as much attention. And the first one that I'm really excited for this week is Upton Stout versus Ladd McConkey. We're going to get to see more of the starters both in joint practices and in the game on Thursday, which does mean that we're going to get to see everybody's favorite fantasy breakout wide receiver, Ladd McConkey, going up against Upton Stout. And that's going to be a really intense matchup. McConkey is super talented, excellent slot receiver, and he can really carry an offense like we saw his rookie year. But Upton Stout, he's an up-and-coming talent. He's exciting, and I'm pumped to see how he matches up against a guy like McConkey. That should be an iron-sharpening iron type of battle. Now, one player who I think could really use a strong day, and one guy who I'll be pulling for, it's Alfred Collins, right? Alfred Collins has maybe had the worst PR on the 49ers the past week or so. And if he struggles against the Chargers' interior offensive line, then it's only going to get even worse. The Chargers have great offensive tackles, more on those guys later, but their guards are really not ideal. They're starting Coyote Owosika at left guard and Cole Strange at right guard. As your starting guards, that's not ideal. Those players that's not what you want for your starting guards, right? Those guys are not that good. So I think Alfred Collins really needs to ball out and make some plays against an inferior offensive line. And if he can't do that, then we got to start to have some real conversations about Alfred Collins' role on this team this year. Now, for another storyline that I'm keeping an eye on, the Niners and the Chargers have a lot of connections, right? Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel both coached for the 49ers. Now they're on the Chargers staff together. But of course, the one that we're all focused on, former number 3 overall pick, Trey Lance, is now the Chargers' backup quarterback. I don't think there's any bad blood between Lance and the organization, but, Lance will be reuniting with some former teammates and some former coaches on the 49ers, and hopefully the Niners are able to get the best of that matchup. I want to see a couple of interceptions on Trey Lance this week. That would make me feel a little bit better for sure. Now, we also said in yesterday's video that the wide receiver competition has been getting very intense at the bottom of the roster, right? We know about the guys at the top. We know who's making this team. But on the very fringe of the 53-man roster, there's a bunch of guys, Malik Turner, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins. Those three in particular have really shown some nice things in practice and in the preseason recently. And now they've got a chance to show out against some more talented corners. Dante Jackson for the Chargers is a backup, but he's nearly a 10-year NFL veteran. He's been around the league a long time. And then they have a guy named Nico Reed, who was a preseason standout for them last year. So if you're Turner or Cowing or Watkins, there's a chance here to show off against real NFL talent and sort of separate yourself from the pack when it comes to making this 53-man roster. They'll get a much better chance this week than they did against the Titans. No disrespect to the Titans corners, but none of those guys are really on the level of Dante Jackson or Nico Reed. So if the Niners wide receivers are able to continue making plays, that'll go a long way for me personally. And then speaking of showing off against NFL talent, the Chargers might have the best offensive tackle duo in the entire league when Rashawn Slater, their left tackle, is healthy. Rashawn Slater has been missing a little bit of practice. Not sure what's totally going on with him. Not sure if he's planning on practicing against the 49ers. But this week, rookie pass rusher Romello Height will likely get the chance to face off against Joe Alt, the Chargers' right tackle, who is a top 10 pick who's been phenomenal so far in his NFL career. And this is going to be a huge test for Height. If he can play well against Joe Alt, he can play well against anybody in the NFL, right? So if he struggles, it's not going to be like the end of the world, right? This isn't a sky falling situation. But if he shows out, that's a big deal for someone like Romello Height. So that's who I've got my eye on this week. Romello Height against Joe Alt. The depth wide receivers against the Chargers depth corners. Trey Lance and how he does in practice. Alfred Collins potentially bouncing back. And then what I think is the marquee matchup of the week. Upton Stout versus Ladd McConkey. Did I miss any storylines, though, that you are watching out for this week? Let me know down below in the comments section. Now, the 49ers have been gearing up for Chargers week here, and they've been, yeah, there we go. Messed up my sliders there. But yeah, like I said, Niners are gearing up for Chargers week. They've been bringing in some new players, right? They're letting go of guard Keon Smith and running back Khalil Herbert. Keon Smith didn't really impress last week, so that's not too surprising to see him on the way out. But Khalil Herbert was getting relevant snaps in the first preseason game. So why let him go? Well, I think that means we'll get to see one of the running backs come back, whether that's Christian McCaffrey, Jordan James, Kalen Black. I think at least one of those guys is going to practice today against the Chargers. I think that's the reason that they felt comfortable letting go of a healthy running back in Khalil Herbert. And I think there's a chance that whoever that player is, they might play on Thursday as well. And that is huge news. Jordan James and Kalen Black especially are going to be extremely important this season, and this is some time that they need to get ready for the season and get ready to make an impact if CMC goes down. This is crucial, so if even one of those guys can come back and practice today, that would be massive. Now, with Keon Smith out, the Niners needed a new offensive lineman, so they brought back an old friend, Nick Zakelj, to fill snaps at guard. I guess they just like Zakelj better than Keon Smith. Honestly, I can't blame them. Keon Smith didn't show me a whole lot. So Zakelj is back, and to fill Khalil Herbert's roster spot, they have signed another edge rusher, Victor Dimukeje, most recently a New York Giant. Dimukeje worked out for the Niners a couple of weeks ago. He was not signed, but clearly they liked him enough to bring him in now and give him a shot. Dimukeje, sort of a stout guy, 6'2", 262 pounds, sort of that Sam Aquanu type build. And Dimukeje actually started 6 games for the Cardinals back in 2023, which is, of course, a season where he had 4 sacks. Now, for reference, Clelin Ferrell led the 49ers with 4 sacks last season, so maybe this is useful. Maybe a guy who can add some sacks, even if it's 1 or 2. That's a whole lot better than last year for San Francisco. Now, Dimukeje is joining a big group of journeyman edge rushers who are looking to find a home, right? It's Dimukeje, Quentin Bell, Obo Okoronkwo, Xavier Thomas, and Titus Leo. All 5 of those guys are working towards that same goal. I think some of them are starting to separate themselves a little bit. Okoronkwo and Quentin Bell look the best to me personally, but we'll see how Dimukeje looks. We'll see if Xavier Thomas and Titus Leo can really start to pick up the pace. We shall see. And then this isn't really a Niners roster move, but I wanted to address it because I think it's important in this business to admit when you're wrong. And I was very wrong about something last week. Jack Bouwmeester. Bouwmeester is signing with the Los Angeles Rams, which means that clearly the Niners had no plans to bring him back. They just liked Corliss Waitman better. And, after his punting performance against the Titans, I totally understand why Waitman won the job. Sounds like Waitman will officially be the 49ers punter this season, and I'm pumped about it, considering what we saw on Thursday in the preseason. Now, unfortunately, Bouwmeester can head on over to the Rams and just tell them everything they need to know about the 49ers special teams, which is certainly not ideal. But if he does end up punting for them in Australia, then we will know for sure that the Niners have a guaranteed punter advantage in that game. So what do you think of the newest 49er, Victor Dimukeje? Do you think that we will miss Khalil Herbert, Keon Smith, or Jack Bouwmeester? Or are we going to forget about all these guys in 2 weeks? Let me know down below in the comments section what you think. Now, before we go any further, quick word here from our sponsor, Kalshi. Before the season... Excuse me. Thanks to Call Sheet for sponsoring this video. Before the season even kicks off, everyone is making predictions. Who wins the division? Who wins the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at season's end? On Call Sheet, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. Now, will the 49ers win the Super Bowl this season? The Niners they're currently trading at 9%, which means a $100 trade would pay out $1,027 if they take home the title. It's long odds for sure, but a massive payout if it hits that will make the Niners Super Bowl victory even sweeter this February. Now, on Call Sheet, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Call Sheet. Download the Call Sheet app and use code FANARCHFOOTBALL to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI, Call Sheet. Trade on anything. Now, as we know, Deebo Samuel is a 49er once again. He's having a pretty nice training camp, lining up all over the place as a versatile chess piece. He's returning kicks. He's taking snaps out of the backfield. He's looking fast. But I just wanted to call attention to one of the reasons that the Niners let go of Deebo Samuel in the first place. Later in Deebo's 49ers tenure, specifically like 2024, Kyle Shanahan would tend to force feed Deebo the football even in situations where it just wasn't advantageous for the offense. Some Niner fans, myself included, called Deebo Kyle's crutch back then, something that he could lean on whenever the offense wasn't quite clicking. And that worked great in 2021 when Deebo had an Offensive Player of the Year type season, but that was forever ago. Deebo is not that type of player anymore, and he wasn't that type of player in 2024. I hope now that with Mike Evans on the team and Dejon Stribling on the team and some other talented players as well, I would hope that Kyle wouldn't force touches for Deebo. But that was a huge problem in 2024, and it could really derail this offense in 2026. So do you think that the 49ers will force Deebo the football, or are they going to spread the ball out and get a bunch of receivers involved? Let me know down below in the comments your prediction. Now, speaking of the comment section, it's time for my favorite segment of every video where I go over some of your comments, give my thoughts and opinions. Thanks to everybody who comments. I read every single one. And if you'd like to be featured here in the comment section, all you got to do is leave a comment down below. Let's get into it now with our first comment here from Mead, who says, great commentary about the Vita Vea potential trade. Hope it happens and happens soon. Thank you very much, Mead. I appreciate that. Glad you guys are all enjoying the content. You guys are very complimentary. I appreciate it greatly. I hope that the Niners get Vita Vea too. He is such a unique player, so much fun to watch, so easy to root for. And I bet that Kyle Shanahan would have some like goal line fullback package for Vita Vea drawn up, and I would kill to see what he could do with a guy like Vita Vea. Next comment from Dino. Mykel Williams' health is critical for Niners D. With Vita Vea or Highsmith or Josh Sweat or Thibodeau, we can hang with the top 3 of the NFC. Yeah, as it stands, Mykel Williams coming back is going to do a ton for this defense. Because think about last year, he was nearly single-handedly responsible for an awesome run defense last year. And when he went down, so did the 49ers' chances at stopping the run. Now, with a lot more talent next to Williams and behind Williams, he could really make this defensive line elite. Like, I think he's the glue of this defensive line. And I keep thinking about the pass rush that Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Osa Odigizua, and Romello Height. I mean, imagine those 4 guys all on the field together. They could kill opposing quarterbacks. How do you stop that pass rush? I just don't think you do. So hoping that Mykel Williams can get healthy and get back to NFL football sooner rather than later. Last comment now from B19. With Alfred Collins struggling and CJ West hurt, now is the time to trade for Vea. A very good point, right? If West is going to miss any sort of serious time, the Niners are going to need some defensive tackle help, which is definitely a shame considering how much talent there is in that room. But Osa can't do it all by himself, right? Maybe it's Grayson Halton who steps up. Maybe it's Sebastian Valdez or James Thompson Jr. Maybe Alfred Collins turns it around, right? Maybe CJ West gets super healthy, but maybe it's the superstar Vita Vea who comes in to save this defensive tackle group. So that is all for today's episode, folks. The Niners have a huge joint practice today. Who are you watching today and on Thursday as well? And how involved do you think that Deebo's going to be in this offense? Let me know down below in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and let me know if there's any topics that you would like to see me cover. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe for 49ers content 5 days a week. I'm Brady Grustas, @GrustasBrady on X. This has been Niners Now, and I will see you tomorrow.